Some reptiles are not hardy. They're not good pets because they're very difficult to keep alive. So, today let's go over the top 5 least hardy, will probably die if you look at them the wrong way, reptiles. My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wickens Wicked Reptiles. Stick around. Before I even begin, I'm not saying these reptiles shouldn't be kept. I'm not saying that if you have one, you should get rid of it or you should totally dash your dreams of ever getting one. There's just a lot more involved than most people will tell you. And let's just get it started off with the one you know is going to be on the list. Number 5, chameleons. I talk so much trash about chameleons. There are several types of chameleons and some are a lot easier than others, but some are very, very difficult. Panther chameleons come to mind. There are some really great keepers who specialize in panther chameleons. Neptune the Chameleon, great YouTube channel. That's the footage you're seeing here. Does a great job. But the one difference between the average keeper and the people who can keep panther chameleons alive, panther chameleon keepers obsess over their reptiles. It takes so long. You couldn't treat a panther chameleon the way that you could treat a leopard gecko, where the leopard gecko is happy as a pig in mud. The chameleon will be barely living. They're just so difficult to keep. They have their own specialized requirement just for the cage. If you buy one of these Repti-Breeze enclosures, almost always they're for chameleons because chameleons have issues with stagnant air, which a lot of reptiles do, but not to this extent. If you don't keep your chameleon in a Repti-Breeze, a lot of species, most species that are normal for captivity, they're going to have issues with the respiratory problems. Add this to their already short lifespan and their fragility, and you've got something that's going to cost you probably lots of money in vet bills. Now, I know people always comment when I talk trash about chameleons, well, my friend's daughter's dog's nephew had one and it was fine. Okay, sure, but for the most part, which is what we're talking about, normally it's very difficult to keep these guys super healthy. Everybody that I personally know who has a chameleon, and we're talking at least a dozen people, every one of them, up to a certain point, a year or a year and a half, has taken their chameleon to a vet. Period. I have never taken a ball python to a vet, never taken a leopard gecko to a vet, never taken a corn snake to a vet, knock on wood. And it's not saying that those reptiles don't get sick, just chameleons, so much effort needs to go into them to keep them happy and healthy, and this is definitely not a beginner species. I think we're done pooping on chameleons for now. Number 4, egg-eating snakes. 2 different species of African egg-eating snake, and both of them have the same problem, especially when they're young. They just won't eat. Now, this doesn't mean that they're going to die, but a lot of keepers who get an egg-eating snake because they don't eat rodents and they don't eat insects, so it's like the perfect reptile, right? You feed it eggs, you get a quail egg supplier, and you start feeding it eggs, and it's good. Wham bam, Bob's your uncle. All you gotta do is clean poop and the shells of the eggs, and that's it. Wrong. Problem. The problem with this is simple. They often don't eat. And if you think baby hognose snakes are hard to get to eat, these guys can be very difficult to get to eat. And if they don't eat, well then they'll die. And what you could do is you can take the contents of an egg, suck it out through a syringe, stick it in their mouth all the way down so it goes into, you have to get one of these special tipped needles that isn't like a regular needle, right? It's like a bulbous end. You put it all the way down basically into their stomach and then you kind of like squish the goo into their stomach, the contents of the egg. Squish the goo in their stomach? That's disgusting. And a lot of people just aren't comfortable doing this, and it's not the easiest thing in the world at all. In fact, the only reason I don't have an African egg-eating snake, I almost bought one. I had it in my hands. I was ready to buy it. I can't find finch eggs. And when they're adults, quail eggs are really easy to find. You got an Asian food market, wham bam, no problem. You're good to go. But when they're young, you need to get them like button quail eggs and even sometimes smaller, something like finch eggs, and I can't find them. So I'm not gonna get an egg-eating snake. But even if you can get them, will they eat them? They refuse to eat quite often. Most people don't see the signs of them starving to death, basically. And even if you do, are you willing to stick that needle down or go to the vet every time they need to eat until they get on their eating of their own? Probably not. And if they don't eat on their own and you don't do anything about it, well, they are a living, breathing thing, and I always make the joke, living things do better if you feed them. Well, same thing. it's gonna die eventually. Number 3, axolotls. Okay, it's not a reptile. I'm cheating. I get it. Adam's awesome amphibians. Take 1. I don't know. These guys we actually have. My girlfriend takes care of our axolotls, and the reason she takes care of them is because I'm really not good with taking care of water parameters. She takes care of the turtles for the same reason. And axolotls are very cool, but they are very difficult to keep because they need such specific requirements. We're talking about if your temperature of your water gets into the mid 70s, you might be coming home to bouncing on the surface of the aquarium axolotls. You might have some serious issues. If you start creeping above 72, 73, 74, these guys like it closer to like the low 60s. We're talking really cold. Most people I know don't keep their rooms or their living rooms at 62 degrees. So it's difficult. You need a chiller, or you need to keep them in a basement or whatever. We keep ours in a basement. Temperature is right around 66, which is a little bit high, but they do really, really well. And not only just the temperature, but the parameters. If you don't know how to control things like nitrates, nitrites, and ammonia, I'm just pretending I know which are good and which are bad. Nitrates are good and nitrites are bad, or the other way. I don't know. Don't take my advice on water parameters. Anyway, they can get ammonia burning. They can have issues because of bad water quality, just like anything with water. But axolotls are super sensitive. Sometimes you can even see like their gills start to curl or their tails start to curl, showing signs of stress. So there is ways to know, and you can test your water, obviously, like you would with a pool or anything else. So it's not the most difficult thing in the world, but it does take extra time. It's a whole new set of learning, where if you learn how to take care of heat and humidity, well, like that's something you can do and apply to all your reptiles, basically. By taking care of a water situation is different. So yes, you can learn it, but it does take a little bit of time, and these guys are a little bit more fragile than basically anything else that I've got in my collection. But axolotls are pretty cool. I love going downstairs and looking at the axolotls. We get a whole rack of them. I think they're amazing. We've got one that like glows in the dark, or glows under a black light rather, and I don't know. They're awesome. Just make sure you do your research before you get one. Number 2 will die if you look at a wrong reptile. Rainbow boas, especially Brazilian rainbow boas, when they are babies. And I'm just gonna, this whole thing, baby rainbow boas mostly, because your adult rainbow boa will be fine most of the time. If you get a Brazilian rainbow boa up to adulthood and you've done all the stuff through it when it was a baby and kept it alive and happy and healthy, you're in the clear. But baby rainbow boas, if you go one day without the humidity or being enough water in the water bowl, whatever. The reason I never had one is because sometimes I leave for 2 or 3 days, and with the rest of my reptiles, I can handle it. If I put Diamond in his enclosure and I give him a salad the day before I leave and some bugs, and then I give him a big water bowl, he's good for 2 or 3 days without me coming over, and as long as all the temperature and stuff like that is automated on smart timers, you're good. But it's not the case with certain animals like rainbow boas. It takes a lot more attention than a corn snake or ball python. And that's really it. That's the main gripe. Humidity and water situation, which seems easy until it's not. And you make one mistake or one thing happens or whatever the case is. Even I'm filming this on Christmas Day. So if you're, I don't know, someone who just moved away from home and you want to spend Christmas Day with your parents and you sleep over there on Christmas Eve and you're gone for 20 hours, and you didn't realize your boa, I think like you get the point. I'm beating a dead horse. Sometimes the water bowl spills over and there's nothing you can do about it for several hours, and rainbow boas don't like that. Number 1, least hardy reptile, dragon snakes. Now I was gonna put savanna monitors here actually, but I think I talk so much junk about savanna monitors, we'll give them a break. Dragon snakes. Now, there's a few reasons you wouldn't want to get a dragon snake. First of all, they come over with parasites usually, so that adds a whole nother element to their difficulty of care. And 2, a lot of the times they're poached from the wild, and that's how we get them here. And we don't want to be depleting native population of any animal, so that's bad. But also, we know so little about them. Keeping them in captivity is very difficult. Breeding them is next to impossible. I know like a handful, or I don't even know anybody. I've heard of a handful of people who can breed them, but very, very difficult. We know so little about them because in the wild where they're from, parts of Asia, there's really nobody around. They're hard to observe. I know that they eat things like fish and amphibians, and most people in captivity will feed them things like frog legs, but still, just super difficult to take care of, and most of them end up dying within weeks, sometimes days or months. Keeping one for over a year happy and healthy is very difficult. Now, that's not to say it can't be done, but when you look at this thing, it looks like a dragon mixed with a snake. I guess that's where they got the name, but the reason you shouldn't get one is because just because they look cool doesn't mean that they're going to be a good pet. In fact, a lot of things that look really cool aren't good pets. Like, I don't know, bush vipers. Different reason, but a lot of the times the most beautiful reptiles are the most difficult ones to handle, and this is definitely one of those cases. I don't think I really need to go into more detail. They're difficult to keep alive, so that's kind of the whole point of the list. So there you go. Top 5 least hardy, most difficult to care for, will probably die if you look at them wrong reptiles. What do you think? Did I hit the nail on the head? Is there something that shouldn't be on the list, something that should be? Let me know in the comments section below. And as always, the Patreon supporters, thank you guys so much. It was one of you who gave me the idea, helped me fill out the list. If you want to see extra stuff, videos early, get discounts on merch, such as this limited edition Got Snilk shirt, which I'm wearing my own face on my chest. Anyway, for as little as $1 a month, you can be a Patreon supporter too. Diamond and I would really appreciate it. And please, before you click off the video, hit the like button, leave a comment, let me know what you think. And as you're writing that comment, a special thanks to our friends at Grubterra. If you want to feed your gecko or chameleon or whatever it is that you feed, bearded dragon, something a little bit different, black soldier fly larva shipped directly to your door, and 10% off if you use the link below and code WWR at checkout. And again, cages. You guys are so amazing. Our friend Diamond here lives in a cages enclosure, the best PVC money can buy, and you get free door handles if you use the link below and code WWR at checkout. All right, you hit the like button and you left a comment. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it's Christmas, so if you want to go eat some turkey, okay. See ya on Thursday.